Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to understand nutrition research. It seems like every day there are articles being thrown at us with these flashy headlines, and the claims they are making are sometimes pretty terrifying. How do we know if we can trust these journalists? Surely not all these claims are true, or else there wouldn't be anything left to eat. It is really important to look into the research behind these claims, but if you don't have a scientific background, it can be hard to really get a grasp on what they are saying. If you follow the tips and tricks that I'm about to share with you in this video, you'll be able to break down and understand any scientific research that you come across and be able to decide for yourself whether the claims are valid or not. If you're new to my channel, my name's Kate. I'm a health coach and I post videos on a low carb, high fat way of eating and other nutrition and related videos. So if you want to see more, make sure to click that subscribe button. The first step in understanding what you're reading is knowing that there are different types of research out there. Research can be divided into two main groups: review papers, which look at prior research and draw conclusions from that, and original research, which is based on the researcher's original findings. Original research can be broken down into experimental studies and observational studies. With experimental studies, intervention is intentionally introduced and an outcome is observed. These are the only type of study that can prove causation. Observational studies, on the other hand, have no control over the subject. These studies simply observe populations, they collect data periodically, and from this data, they find possible links between factors. It is important to note that these type of studies cannot prove causation, they can only prove association or correlation. Once a link has been made, experimental studies are then done to prove or disprove whether the two factors are actually related. The next thing you want to look at is the actual method that the researchers use. So for experimental studies, randomized controlled trials are considered to be the gold standard. Next up would be double-blind studies, and then placebo-controlled studies. If the researchers didn't use one of these three methods, the results aren't as dependable. Was the experiment done on humans or animals? Obviously, human studies are going to carry more weight. The length of the study is also important. A claim that is made from a study done over 4 weeks may not hold true if that study carried on for longer. Another good thing to look out for is the markers that the researchers used in the study. For example, when looking at reducing the risk of heart disease, total cholesterol levels are often used as a marker, but this marker may not be accurate. There are a lot of people coming forward saying that total cholesterol is not a good indicator for heart disease, and that we need to look at things like LDL and HDL, and within that particle size. So if a study is saying that heart disease risk was reduced because cholesterol was reduced, that may not be a good marker. And for observational studies, a lot of times these studies are done over a long period of time and are based on something called a food frequency questionnaire. Participants are given a survey periodically. The problem with this is that oftentimes these surveys ask participants to recall what they have eaten over the last month or the last year. For example, it will say, how many times did you have a serve of chicken per week over the last month? And as you can probably tell what I'm getting at, these aren't very accurate. Sometimes there's also one person in the household who is asked to answer for the whole household, which again lowers the accuracy. There's also a thing called self-report bias, where participants will choose their answers to try to make themselves look better. You also want to look into how the people are grouped within the study. As an example, I was reading a study that claimed people on a plant-based diet were at a 42% reduced risk for heart disease. And when I looked into it, it was an observational study. They used the food frequency questionnaires. But what was really interesting about it was how they grouped people. Plant-based included a bunch of veggies and then fish. And another category was convenience. And this category included fast food as well as red meat. And they said that they put people into these groups based on what they ate the most of. So by that logic, someone could eat 49% fast food and 51% fish and fall into the plant-based category. And that is just one example of how a headline can be misleading. Looking at who the study was cited by can tell you a couple of things. For original research, simply looking at the number of times it's been cited can tell you if others found the research valuable or not. And if you actually look into some of the articles that cited the research, you can tell how it was interpreted by others, if they agree with the claims or not, and if they conducted further research, and if that supported the claims or not. For review papers, you want to look at the references. So these are the studies that the researcher looked at to draw their conclusions. Sometimes the studies they referenced are actually used out of context and don't support the claim that the review paper is trying to make. You also want to look at if the research they reference is from experimental studies or if it's from observational studies. As I mentioned earlier, if it is mostly observational studies or only observational studies, these do not show causation and cannot be used to come to any solid conclusion. You want to take a look at who funded the research. Now, this doesn't always decredit it, but it is just something to be mindful of. A study done on the health benefits of sugar, funded by Coca-Cola, that should probably raise some red flags. And finally, you want to look to see if you can find opposing research. You can go to websites such as PubMed and Google Scholar, search the topic, and see if you can find anything that goes against the claim that you were previously reading about. A lot of times we get stuck in these echo chambers where we surround ourselves with people who believe the same things that we do. So everything we ever hear just confirms our opinions. It is really important to look at the other side, look at it with an open mind, and to be able to change your opinion should the evidence be overwhelming. Anyways guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful. And let me know in the comments down below, what was the craziest nutrition headline that you've ever seen? Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!